Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Cahill. Okay, members, item 1, apologies. An apology has been received from Councillor Ratcliffe, Alderman Moutry and Councillor McClellan. Can I check if there are any others from the floor, please? No others? Okay. Online so far we have Alderman Kennedy and Alderman Barr. Oh, Alderman Greenfield, I'll bring you in.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
No problem, okay. Declarations of interest then, members, we will knock myself off. We will take those as we go. So, slight change to the agenda this evening, members. We're going to jump into 7.1 in confidential section now, and that's to allow Kevin MacDonald from Belfast City Council to join us. So I'll read out this whole spiel. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into the confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Do I need to ask for somebody? Members, can I get a proposer and seconder first, please do so? Proposed by Councillor Armstrong and seconded by Alderman Tinsley. Thank you. Can I now ask the ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? thumbs up, thank you. Okay, members, can I seek a proposer and seconder to agree the recommendation in 7.1 proposed by Alderman Greenfield and seconded by Councillor Armstrong? Thank you. Okay, members. 3.1 and 3.2 are information items. Do members have any questions they'd like to raise? Alderman Berry.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the officers for drawing this up in relation to 3.2, dog control matters. This was something that I had asked questions on at a previous meeting in December. Now, the report is very detailed and I suppose sheds light on a couple of things which I just want to question a wee bit more and get clarification on. So, first of all, it goes on to say that there have been 20 complaints in 5 years of dogs in play parks. Now, at that particular meeting, I had raised about Gosford and Clareglen and sort of public parks. So, you know, is a play park, does it come under that definition of public parks, i.e. Gosford or Clareglen, or is this just about the 93 council play parks that we have? Could an answer to that first, because I want to follow up.
Elizabeth, I'll bring you in to answer it.
Thank you, Alderman Berry. Yes, so just to confirm, the dog control orders just apply to the play parks, not to the general public park. So they are the play parks where you have the play equipment, and there are specific dog control orders that apply therein.
I'll bring you back in, Alderman Berry.
Thank you very much. So obviously, you know, recently I was walking around with the family around Gosford Park over Christmas on a couple of occasions and could see quite clearly people with dogs, 2-3 dogs on the loose, running about with not on leads. And to me, that is something that we as a council should be more vigorous on in relation to enforcement. Because I'd seen a couple of dogs running at somebody else's dogs, people who had dogs on leads, who were complying, and others, it's okay, nothing will happen. But the fact is these dogs are coming to attack other dogs or bite and bark at them. So from April 24 to March 25, there have been 869 stray dog reports. In April 24 to March 25, there have been 200 dog attacks. Is there any way, which there probably is, and I don't expect the answer tonight, but I'd be interested to know, under these 200 dog attacks, did any of these happen in our public parks? And if so, how many, and the location and the frequency of them, or was it mostly private properties or in housing estates? Because I think that would be very important, because if there was a large percentage of dog attacks that were happening in public spaces or public parks, then I would like to think we would become a bit more proactive in relation to the enforcement of this. Now, I did notice in the report that patrols when resources permit, and could I just have a wee bit more clarification in relation to patrols occur when resources permit? That would indicate to me that it's only when with a few pounds or with manpower or womanpower that the like of patrols are taking place. I would have thought that these are something that were happening regularly, but this would indicate to me that this is only when it permits, resources permit. So is there a funding issue? Is there something there that we're cutting back on? So that in the past 5 years there's only 20 complaints, and the amount of people from the general public that report to me and other colleagues of the nuisance of dogs off leads in public parks, I could get you more than 20 in 5 years, there's no doubt about that. So that leads me to the next thing. Lastly, through the chair, 20 complaints in 5 years would indicate to me that I think there's something of a PR level that we need to do within our public parks, that if someone is walking, or if someone is walking along comfortably on a family walk or a walk by themselves and there's dogs running about off leads, well then to me there needs to be better PR in relation into those public parks, signage of some sort to say that if you notice a dog off leads, here's a number to call and report it. But I would also like to know, have we a plan in place, or how many times do our patrol officers go into our public parks, and especially at peak periods like Sundays and weekends and stuff. I'd like to know, does that happen? And if it doesn't happen, why is it? Is it a resource issue? But thank you, but I do still believe that this is a big issue that needs to be further resourced and enforced for the safety of men, women and children, because some of the big dogs that you see running about off leads, if they attacked a child, I'm telling you, it wouldn't put us in good light if we weren't seen to be enforcing it properly. So thank you very much for the report.
Thank you. Alderman Berry. Elizabeth, you going to come in? Yep.
Thank you, and thanks for the questions, Alderman Berry. Some of the information we will come back to as far as the details about the number of dog attacks and where actually they've happened. With regard to resources, where the patrols when resources permit, a lot of the times we will respond where there are particular issues. So certainly coming into certain times of the year, we will step up the patrols in some of our parks, or if we have had particular concerns raised from the public, we will then step up those patrols. We also do have planned patrols over the year in our parks. We have a number of parks, and the dog wardens do plan alongside their colleagues in the parks departments. They will plan and do some regular patrols. They're not there every day, but certainly we do respond at certain times of the year. And equally, we'll have certain areas, residential areas, where concerns are raised and resources will be diverted there. Yes, I pick up your point around PR, and maybe we will look around our communications and some additional PR around the parks at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. Okay, members, if we could just stick to 3.2 for now. I'm going to bring in Councillor Armstrong.
Mine's 3.1, Chair, so it is. Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Chair, I want to speak on both, but I'll stick to 3.2 for now. I didn't intend to speak on 3.2, to be fair, but I'm a dog owner myself and a dog lover. I have a small anxious dog, so I totally understand. He stays on the lead all the time, and I do understand, therefore, why when a dog is off lead in one of our parks, I purposely, for example, don't walk my dog in Lurgan Park for that reason. There's a large number of dogs off lead. However, I also understand that dogs need time off lead, and there are dogs who are very responsive to their owners, and therefore it's a fine balance. So I suppose what I think we should actually do is look at our large parks and designate areas, be it that we fence them off where dogs can be off lead in a controlled, smaller area where they can get that off-lead time, because bigger dogs need off-lead time, where they can be in an open space. I mean, the dog park, I don't know if many people know it, that was on the Portadown Road, was somewhere that you could take your dog. You could allow your dog off lead in an area, group dogs by side. It's disappointing that it's no longer there, but it was very popular. I would love to see the council do something like that. So, I think it's a fine balance around dogs being on lead, but also understand that some need off lead, and therefore as a council, can we counter it by saying Lurgan Park's huge? Why do we not have a big field in it that's fenced that allows dogs to come off lead? And just while we're on the subject, can I ask at the moment how many operating dog wardens we have to manage the area?
Bring in Elizabeth, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Nelson. To answer your first point, we'll certainly look at that with regard to dog parks. We'll look at that and bring a report back. At the moment, we have 3.5 dog wardens. So there was traditionally one dog warden across each locality, and that is the resource that remains, 3.5 dog wardens.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to bring in Councillor Evans next.
Thank you, Chair. My points are along the same line as Councillor Nelson, and it's interesting that she raises a dog park, because I've been asking that from I was elected, and I was point blank told no. So it'll be interesting to see what we could actually come up with now, if we can come up with something. I just wanted to come on and say, in regards to our dog wardens, I've been to Armagh and I've seen it, and they're doing a fantastic job for such a small team that they are. But some responsibility needs to be taken here by the owners. We have such irresponsible dog owners in this borough. It is unbelievable. My own dog has been attacked twice at the lakes, And at Christmas time, I seen a dog jump the fence at Eden Villa, because that play park fence is not tall at all, and I seen a dog jumping straight into it. And part of the problem, and I really do feel for our dog wardens here whenever they have to go to these dog owners and enforce, because they are so ignorant. The mouthful I have taken off of dog owners in this borough is ridiculous, and I really do feel for our staff that have to put up with it. But it will be interesting to see if we can look into a dog park to let them off, because some of them do need let off. And in regards to what Alderman Barry had said, and with signage and stuff, even if we could put a phone number or an email address on there for them to report, because I know they're not reporting it, because one, they can't be bothered because nobody's listening to them. Nothing's happening, because, and I understand why, because it's very, very hard to track a dog owner down whenever you can't identify them. But it would be handy if we maybe put something on the signs to say, here's where you have to contact, so that we can maybe build a better picture of what is going on in the borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I'm going to bring in Alderman Greenfield next, please.
Thank you, Chair. And so just along the same lines, I walked Gosford on New Year's Day with our very friendly cockapoo Penny, who would never be off the lead for I don't think he'd ever come back, and she would lick everybody to death she met. But there was quite a number of people out there, and around the park area, to be fair, a lot of dogs are on leads, and as soon as they get out on the trails, people setting them off, and those dogs came up to ours and nothing happened. But it is something that I was thinking, like, there wasn't much signs once you left the actual park to say you're not, one, who to contact there is an issue, but also reminding people that they're not to be in Leeds. You know, I was also at South Lakes the day after, and the snow came on. There wasn't too many else about, but anybody I did see, there was areas where the dogs were off and staying off the grass at one side. So I suppose there is plenty of space that we could do that. I think of Rowallan Gardens near where my parents live, and we went up there, and they've part of the gardens is all a beautiful spot, and then as you're coming out, there's a big massive field to the side for dogs to run loose, and it seems to work well. So it is just about thinking that maybe something that we'd support and look into to do for. I think it would help for that there. But I think there is a major issue just with people being reminded to be responsible for their dog, because we go around different even housing stations, there's going to be dogs out and about and right across, not only our parks. But thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman. I'm going to bring in Councillor O'Dowd then, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mine's on a different note. Now, it is still 3.2, but it's not about the parks. It's about the licensing. Again, we ourselves have a dog. I find whenever the renewal licence comes through, you can't do it online. Well, I know I've a major issue doing it online, and I'm sure other people are the same. So luckily, I be over in the Civic building, so I can bring over and pay it whenever I'm at a meeting or whatever. But there's a lot of people, I'm sure, out there that can't do that. But there is an issue with online payments.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd. I'm going to bring in Elizabeth to answer that.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor O'Dowd. That does concern me, because about 70% of our licensing is online, so certainly we can pick that up directly with you, and we have a really good online system and very much promoting it, so happy to pick that up with you directly. Listen, thanks for your comments, and from Councillor Evans as well. We have a fantastic dog control team, and if you ever have the time and liberty to go and look at the DERA website, which publishes all the statistics, our council is top performing in the number of licences and the amount of work that we do. So I want to pay tribute to the dog wardens that we have. They work so hard and diligently in what is a difficult job. So thanks for your comments. Certainly we'll pick up on some of those around communications and around the dog parks and bring something back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And members, if that is all for 3.2, we'll go back to 3.1, and I'll bring in Councillor Armstrong. Thank you for your patience there.
Thank you, Chair. And just before we get into it, just want to thank our management staff who've had a tough couple of days within the refuge collection, and I know that the weather hasn't been helpful for us, and there've been a lot of bins missed, but I do know that the team are working hard to get through that and get that cleared up. Anytime I've picked up the phone, I've been quick to answer the calls. But just in relation to 3.1, I'm sort of looking at it. There's been 85 environmental wardens have been present in the localised area on 85 occasions since the 1st of July, and as a result 15 fixed penalty notices have been issued, 0 for fly tip and 15 for littering offences. Just would like a bit of it more information. What do we classify in there as a litter offence, and what are we classifying as a fly tipping? And is that something that we need to maybe look at a wee bit more? Because I do know that issues were raised in certain localities within our borough that were renowned for fly tipping. If we're just getting people on littering offences, what's the difference here? Just want that clarified, if that would be good. Thank you.
Elizabeth, I'll bring you in.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Armstrong. I'll come back to you with the details on those. Fly tipping offences tends to be, the bulky wastes, where it is more difficult to actually identify offenders. And that is probably the rationale for those statistics, but I'll come back to you with more detail on those. The fly tipping offences is probably easier to identify offenders, whether that is information that they have left within black bags, or that we're able to identify through number plates on cars. So I would imagine it's down to identifying the offenders has left it easier that we can then actually issue the fixed penalty notices, but happy to come back to you with a wee bit of detail on those 15. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to bring in Councillor Nelson then.
Thank you, Chair. And I suppose 2 comments in relation to this. Obviously, it's just disappointing to see the rise in fly tipping in our borough post-Christmas, and I understand people's houses are coming down with cardboard boxes. But it is disappointing when you see things so close to the New Line Recycling Centre that have just been dumped, and the disregard that people have, and maybe even not aware that it's their rates then that will have to be used in order to clean that up. But I suppose I'm stretching here, but I do want to take just a wee minute to thank our unsung heroes, and that is our staff at our recycling centres. I have been to the recycling centre maybe 4 times since Christmas, and that shows how good Santa was in my house. And at all times there's been a queue, but staff are beyond helpful. They're helping, they don't have to, but they're taking things out of your boot for you. They're really passionate about helping organising the recycling so it's going to the right place. In fact, maybe even have got told off once or twice myself to make sure that things are going in the right place. But yes, just that I was mixing up maybe plastic and metal at one stage with a clothes horse. Who was I to know? It's covered in plastic. But we got it to the right place at the end. At least I know how to use a clothes horse. But that aside, on a serious note, can I thank our recycling centre staff? There has been a huge increase in footfall to it. They have been patient, they have been helpful, they're always smiling, and I don't think they always get the thanks that is required, and they maybe are often our unsung heroes. So just tonight, if a message could go out to them that councillors from this committee are really appreciative of the work that they're doing, the extra work that they're doing, and how nice they are being to members of the public, it would be really appreciated.
Thank you for that, Councillor Nelson, and totally agree with your remarks there. Okay, members, so that's 3.1 and 3.2. Are we happy to move on? Okay, thank you. So next we have a presentation by the Loughnane Partnership. I think we'll just wait for Jerry to come in. Okay, members, so a warm welcome to Jerry Darby, who is from the Loughnane Partnership, and he has kindly agreed to stick to 10 minutes to help with the flow and the timing of tonight's busy agenda. So I'm going to hand over to Jerry whenever he gets settled.
Okay, thanks very much to the Chair, to elected representatives, and to the Council staff as well for inviting me here. As part and parcel of a sort of annual report that I would give, just giving everybody an update in terms of what the partnership is involved with, more importantly how that relates to the Council itself. Okay, and I'm fully aware of the of the timescale of 10 minutes. Okay, just to remind everybody of, you know, what are the issues on Lough Neagh. There's not a lot of talk about blue-green algae, but Lough Neagh is a lot bigger and a lot more complex and has a lot more complex needs than just the issues of water quality. So I would say actually the first one's probably the most important one. Number probably 1 and 2. Lough Neagh has no integrated management body. So after the Good Friday Agreement, which is what, 26 years ago, every navigable water system in Ireland, both north and south, was under the remit, or put under the remit of Waterways Ireland. It never happened in Lough Neagh. Why it haven't never happened in Lough Neagh, I'm not sure, and I've been working on it for 25 years. And that is probably, I would say, one of the big things that needs addressed. And with that is no navigation authority, as I say. Very, very strong loss of habitats and species around the shores of the lough, less so in the lough itself, but particularly on the bogs and the wet woodlands. A lot of that has been lost. I'll maybe touch on that later on. It's very much resources are extracted, so there's 1.5 million tonnes of sand extracted, and that's via license with Shaftesbury Estates, and then there's 6, 7 extraction points and companies all around the lough. And then fish itself are extracted in terms of the fishing industry. And that's fine, if that's, and to a certain degree it is fine in the sense that it's all above board, it's all regulated, but the problem is really the loss in habitat and species. A lot's taken out, and the real main impact on that has, so there's profitability there, and there's income, and that's good, and there's economic development. But the problem and the main cost benefit of that, or negative benefit of that, has been the loss of habitat and species. It's designated, it's got more designations probably than any other place in the whole of Northern Ireland. It's an ASSI, SPA, and Special Protected Area. But we're reviewing that now at the moment with DERA, because, you know, in many ways, it's a pretty meaningless document, you know. It's sort of, you write a list of things on a bit of paper, you draw a line around the lough. It's really the policing and the implementation of those particular set of rules is of more fundamental importance than the document itself, and that's really what's been lacking. And I've already said, water quality and nutrient overload, there's probably not a lot more I have to say on that. I'm pretty sure most people are pretty au fait with the issue of that there's just really too much nutrients, i.e. phosphates and nitrates, coming into the lough. Okay, so what we're going to do about this, and you know, what are the potential solutions to that? Okay, so I'm just going to go through a number of things that we are involved with that will hopefully try and address those issues, some in the short term and more in the long term. And when I say, I'll sort of address what I said there. It's not a Lough Neagh partnership will address them. It's a Lough Neagh partnership very much so in partnership with the statutory bodies. Lough Neagh partnership has no statutory remit at all. It's just a group of farmers, sand extractors, community representatives, and local councillors. That's really what that's what we are. We're representing the local people who live and work in the lough. That doesn't mean to say we punch above our weight, but remember, with no statutory body. So this is really all about working with DERA, working with DFI, and working with the other big bodies like the National Trust to take things forward. So firstly and foremost, if we maybe work our way clockwise, there's a new climate change study that has been put together, and a big study into the unmanaged land around the lough. So we work a lot with farmers through our environmental farm scheme. 170 members. There's about £4.2 million has been brought in over the last 5 years. But now we want to look at maybe farms that, land that isn't farmed, that have maybe a lot of bog and unmanaged land on it, and that's really a big focus we have at the moment going forward. The idea of the rights of nature has sort of been pumped around sort of as of late, and we're sort of interested in sort of kicking that around and looking to see, you know, can species and can habitats actually have some element of rights? I know it sounds a bit of an abstract thing, but it's certainly, when you look at the loss that has happened, it's certainly something to maybe start thinking about. The catchment, Sustainable Catchment Programme is a new farming programme where we're working with DERA, we're working with the Ballinderry Rivers Trust and also Blackwater Rivers Trust to really work with, again, farmers, but on new programs, really just focusing in on water quality and improving water quality, since that is a big problem. DERA has its own plan dealing with the blue-green algae, and that's maybe one slight problem with that. It's called the Lough Neagh Plan, but it doesn't really deal with structure issues, it doesn't really deal with management issues, it deals just primarily with the blue-green algae, so it's more a water quality strategy rather than a strategy. This one down here is very important. We've just produced a draft of that, and we're working with the council here. We've worked in the past with the council, and that is we're putting together a very strong bid to the National Lottery Heritage Fund for a resilience plan. That's their quote, not mine. And that's would be maybe somewhere between £5 to £10 million. We're trying to get the councils involved, and this council has been, I have to say, very strongly supportive of it and interested in it. And again, in the past we've done that. So that's a big proposal that's sort of bubbling up, really, and the strategy itself will be, the plan itself will be nearly complete, and then we're going to go back and put an application into Heritage Lottery. Environmental schemes have already touched on. SCUPB, we've been successful in getting a bit of funding there, about £800,000, to look at looking at the development of nature recovery networks, but also focusing in on birds that have been lost. So really the curlew is really one of the big areas we're interested in. It's more or less extinct, touching on extinction on the Lough. Lough Neagh ownership, again, we've been speaking to Shaftesbury Estates, and we've drawn up a couple of papers with the Lough Neagh Development Trust and other organisations, and again they're being published this month as well, so it'll be interesting to see what the recommendations there and how to take things forward with Shaftesbury Estates. Shaftesbury Estates has said that they are inclined to gift the Lough if the circumstances are correct. And then just finally, you know, we're still, you know, what are we about? We're about, you know, operational work and conservation. So we're out doing a lot of monitoring. Just up here, a lot of monitoring on the Lough in terms of bird numbers and habitat and assessments, and feeding that back to DERA. So we have 2 rangers out doing conservation work on the islands, on around the shores of the Lough. But you know, two rangers covering 100 mile of shoreline as well. Well, you know, imagine is you're not gonna build Rome, that's for sure. So that's really a summary. Oh, sorry, the most important one, or one of the other most important one, is this big block down the bottom. So this is called Forever Lough Neagh Master Plan. So we're working very closely with the National Trust and the Woodlands Trust, but mainly the National Trust are leading it in terms of, again, putting together a management structure for the Lough. That's the top priority, and I already said at the very needs issue, it's about management of the Lough. And if I'm honest with you, it's been very positive working relationship that's been developing with farming representatives on that board, with academics, Woodland Trust, and DERA, most importantly, is on it. DERA actually sit on it, and that's the first time they've actually sat on a board on Lough Neagh to try and look at new structures. So we're pretty excited about that. And again, there'll be an application going in from the National Trust really in the early spring. So all very positive, even though there's a lot of negative reporting out there in terms of blue-green algae. That will take a long time to deal with, but in the meantime, there's still plenty of things to do and plenty of things to get on with to improve the loch. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Jerry, for your presentation. I'm going to bring in Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for being here tonight. And just when I have the opportunity to thank you for your commitment to the loch. It's unmatched, I think, right across the north. You're clearly passionate, you're committed, you're a great advocate, and I really admire all that you do. I too am passionate about the loch, and so I hope you don't take this as a criticism in any way, but in May 2024 I was one of a number of councillors here appointed to the Loch Ness Partnership for ABC Council. I suppose, Jerry, my only concern is I've only ever had one invite in all that time to one board meeting, and that was at 2 o'clock in Ballyronan, followed by another at 4. And for councillors, many of us work full time. It just isn't possible for me to make a meeting during the day, and when I am so passionate about the loch. And certainly I found your briefing paper tonight really insightful, because a lot of the work that you do, I wasn't even aware of that before you came here this evening. Now I understand that daytime meetings may suit the majority there, but then maybe that you look at an elected reps version of the meeting to be had, because I just think that when we have a huge stake in it, when many people look to us, certainly in times of crisis, that it would be really helpful if those meetings, one, could be later, and if there was also an online option. So I'd really appreciate if you could consider that, but thank you for all that you do as well.
Jerry, I'll bring you in to press your...
Just to come back to that?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Sorry, you need to press your button.
Oh, sorry. So that was the first official invitation of the, so that's why you haven't had any ones before that. It was slightly annoying because we had to have an AGM. So you've restrictions in times when you have to have an AGM. So we had our AGM on the same day at 2 o'clock. But the good news is that most of our meetings are actually at 4 o'clock. Okay, so in fact, all our board meetings are at 4 o'clock, and that was put back from 2 o'clock. Majority of people that actually sit on our board probably are councillors, you know. Some suit some, doesn't suit others. And then the other good news is that all coming from all this year, all our board meetings will be available to be linked in online as well. So we're trying to be as flexible as possible, and just to thank you as well for the original praise of the work of the partnership.
Thank you, Jerry. Councillor Nelson, I'll bring you back in.
Thank you. And I know, look, I do finish. I'm a teacher, so I finish technically at 3:30. Teachers do not finish working at 3:30, but that's for another night. So yes, 4 o'clock online I could absolutely do, and so that is good to know. But there are councillors that would have a keen interest at doing 9 to 5. So look, let's see how that goes. But I would ask that you would keep it under review for us, because we are really eager to contribute.
Okay, members, any further lights on? Okay, I have nothing on my screen, so thank you, Jerry, for your time and for joining us tonight to impart your knowledge. So safe journey home. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's 4.1, members. 4.2 then, any questions or comments? Okay. Members, that brings us then to an information item, which is 5.1. Any questions on that one? No lights on, okay, and we have no correspondence. Okay, members, can I get a proposer and a seconder to go into committee for consideration of the confidential items of business, please? Proposed by Councillor Evans and seconded by Alderman Greenfield. Thank you. Members and online viewers, in accordance with the Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting, and this will be returned when the meeting has restarted. Can I please ask the ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed, please? Thank you, Cahill. Okay, members, can I get a proposer and seconder to agree the recommendations? Proposed by Alderman Tinsley, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Thank you. Members, we have no AOB, so the meeting is now ended. Safe journey home. Thank you.